Well, my message to all the premiers who continue to deny residents reuniting with each other or businesses to flourish is please just dig deep and think about the compassionate issues here. If there were health concerns, I'd be the first to say, I understand your position. I mean, I've had to be in that position with Victoria and I didn't want to be in that position, but we moved to close the border after consultation with the Victorian Premier and the Prime Minister. It wasn't a decision we took lightly or one that we wanted to do, and as soon as we can open that border, we will. It could be a matter of weeks, depending on the health advice, but we certainly won't keep that border open a day longer than we have to, because we have confidence in our system, we have confidence in our people, we have confidence in our health system, we have confidence in our police and Service New South Wales to work together to make sure we keep our citizens safe.
There's fears over a cluster in an F45.
Yeah.
So, I know restrictions have recently been relaxed in gyms. Have we gone too far?
Well, with gyms, you still need to make sure you have a COVID marshal. You still need to make sure equipment has to be cleaned. We assess all of the restrictions on a daily and weekly basis, and we feel that we do have COVID-safe plans in place. But unfortunately, it doesn't mean, and I don't want to cast aspersions on those businesses that have been identified today, but what Minister Dominello and myself have been particularly vigilant about this week is the need for compliance, the need to make sure every business, no matter what type of business you are, stick to the COVID-safe plans, have the QR code so that when there is an outbreak, we can get in touch with people in minutes. That is so critical, because when you get in touch with people within minutes, you can warn them, they can isolate, they can get tested, and we know that we can get on top of the virus. And the compliance levels have been great. On the Service New South Wales app alone, we've had 1 million kind of clicks in the last little while, 500,000 users. We want to increase that. We don't want to go down the path of making it compulsory for all businesses to have QR codes, but if we find take-up is a bit slower than what we'd like, we may go down that path. But the important thing is that there are always exceptions. No matter how good a business is, we cannot forget, and that's why it's even important today, for everybody to be COVID safe at all times. Maintain your distance, hand sanitise, make sure you follow the rules, because no matter how COVID safe any business is or any environment is, this virus is extremely contagious, and it's easy to forget that when our numbers are so low. But we have to be aware that this virus is extremely contagious and we have to be on our guard at all times, and that is what's really important.
How do you feel about the WA government lumping New South Wales
Oh, look, it's been illogical, and Tasmania, I'll throw Tasmania into that lump as well. I mean, a number of states have chosen to lump New South Wales in with Victoria, which has not been a common sense approach in my view. The two states have been vastly different in their approach and how they've managed the pandemic. It is what it is, and I suspect the election cycle in both those states has had something to do with it. But I'm the first one to suggest, I'm cautious, I'm the first one to suggest you should put safety first. But the lengths that those premiers have gone to is beyond the realm of logic. And unfortunately, as has been highlighted, it's hurting families, it's hurting individuals, it's hurting businesses, and it shouldn't be the case. As Australians, we should be able to move around freely and safely, and I urge all the premiers to consider that. I'm certainly considering that in relation to Victoria. And once Premier Andrews allows Melburnians to mix with the rest of Victoria, then we'll be, the countdown will start for New South Wales as to when we take down our border.
Premier, there's a police constable, New South Wales police constable, now in self-isolation after working in quarantine. He entered the room of the man who was quarantining. He then left the room and finished his shift at the local police station. Now he's having to quarantine, there's close contacts. What do you say to that? How's that allowed to happen?
Oh, look, I don't know the specifics of that case, but I'll say this. I've been very open about the fact that we welcome 3,000 Australians back through Sydney, 45% are from other states every single week. We have 5,000 people in our hotels at any given time. Is this a high-risk venture? Absolutely. Is it something we battle every day? Absolutely. So this isn't an easy job, and Victoria demonstrated how difficult it is because their lack of systems in place around quarantining obviously led to their second wave. So I don't shy away from the fact that managing the quarantine system is extremely difficult. It's complex, and yes, you're going to have cases from time to time where people have to take extra precautions, or where there could be cases spreading because of that. And again, overnight we had six cases from overseas in our quarantine system. Now that means health officials have to be involved, police, the federal forces, ABF, ADF. So this is a complex operation. operation. I've never for a second taken away from how complex it is, and I hope people appreciate really the burden that New South Wales has carried during this process. But we've done it because we think it's in the best interest of Australia and the best interest of New South Wales. That's why I've also been saying to the other states, okay, you've got your borders up, but at least take your fair share of residents coming back to Australia. And unfortunately, they haven't been. And so this is a constant reminder to us about how hard it is. We've got our normal hotel quarantining, we've got our health quarantine. It's a major complex operation every time you welcome Australians back, and we're doing 3,000 a week.
Premier, the report into the natural disasters, the Royal Commission Bushfire, which is about to be released, are you committed to implement all recommendations? I know you have from the state point of view, but from the federal.
Oh, look, absolutely. I don't think we can learn enough from those catastrophic bushfires. And I know Minister Constance lives with it daily in his community. And we've been having a number of discussions within our government about how we can approach this. Minister Elliott, who's here, did an outstanding job in coordinating the government's response to the New South Wales inquiry. And he is already putting a number of those plans in place. And I want to thank Minister Elliott for that. But obviously, all of us have to learn more. And I look forward to reading the final report, which is, I think, being tabled today. Looking forward to doing what we can as a state to adopt the recommendations there. And the last thing people want to see is important reports handed down and ignored. We'll do the opposite. We'll make sure we take on the learnings because there's too much at stake. Protecting lives and properties has to be an absolute priority, and that's what we'll do moving forward.
Have you got enough time? Have you got enough time before this?
Yeah, Liz, good question. We've actually already started implementing a number of the recommendations from our own inquiry. We actually asked the two very highly qualified individuals who did our inquiry in New South Wales to actually make sure they gave us the report ahead of our season. And again, without preempting anything, we know how important the work of the RFS is, so we're actually moving our State Emergency Operations Centre for COVID out of RFS this week to make sure that RFS can focus on natural disasters, and we'll be relocating that elsewhere.